Welcome back to the championship pitch here in Howard County at Troy Park. Game 2 of a intense series between the Boston Forge and the Austin Outlaws, a rematch of the 2019 MLQ Championship Final. The Austin Outlaws taking the first game. Boston grabbing the snitch, briefly taking the lead, but calm, collected play by the Outlaws, seeing the day through. Now it is Boston with their season on the line, with their title defense on the line. I'm Ethan Sturm along with Noah Schwartz. Noah, what does Boston need to do to come away with this one?
We talked about this a little post-game, right? I think the triumvirate, I think they have to get to score quicker, and they've got to ride with Havlin and Dillman as long as they can in the beater game.
Yep. We're about to get brooms up. Sam Ham running against Teddy Costa. Last time Costa just pulled up, Sam Ham is one of the fastest brooms up runners in the game. Does so again, but this time Sam Ham has a full head of steam. Ryan Fetting goes for the wrap. Ryan Fetting with the huge tackle. And it's a big stop there from the young player out of Cal.
Yeah, you want to see Boston be more physical in this game. Oh, and the ball sneaks out to Erin McBride. She's going to get stopped, and Boston's going to jump on them. Nice physical start for Boston defensively here.
Yeah, they need to set the tone physically. They were probably the more physical team in game 1 as well, but it was early on where they struggled a bit in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Austin hung 5 goals on them very quickly in that first game. It's a nice start for Boston this game.
Yeah, and Boston's not messing around in the beater game. To be fair, neither is Austin. Jackson Johnson and Cole Travis playing against Max Havlin and Leanne Dillman. The Austin beaters currently with bludger control. Grace Tastu has the ball on the wing. The rest of the Quaffle game is Ryan Fenning, Jake Archibald, and Tyler Beckman. And the Quaffle game on the Austin side currently in a 2-2 zone is Augie Monroe, along with Erin McBride, Casey Irwin, as well as Sam Hamowitz.
And we're going to look for Archibald to have a rebound game here. Really bad game from him in game 1. It was probably the difference in the game. Yeah. If he can have a good game, this Boston team can really turn this tide around.
Yeah. And I talked to him in between games. This line knows where they messed up. They knew the passes that they needed to not make. You can't give up free turnovers against the talent on this Austin side. They definitely have already looked more composed. Jake Archibald's exact words to me were, we knew that we could have just held the ball for 8 minutes and Austin wouldn't have done anything about it. You're already seeing that composure more so in this second game.
Now, Tyler Beckman out there on the wing. A few early turnovers from last game. We'll see. Now Boston works the ball around. Archibald misses the first shot. Fenning gets the rebound off the Dastu miss.
But Jackson Johnson recovers, though. Tyler Beckman is going to come up with it. I think they're going to say that Fenning did propel it a bit after the beat. Either way, I don't think it would have mattered because there was a close-down beat there from Cole Travis that forced the turnover one way or another.
A better-looking possession there from Boston than early on in the last game. Archibald has to finish that first shot.
Yep. Bludger's on the ground. I think Leanne Dillman is going to come away with bludger control. So it is still step 1 accomplished there because bludger control has been the deciding factor throughout the series. It's been hard to come by. It's been hard to take off the opposing team, especially with the top of the echelon of beaters in the game with Hallie Pace now entering as well. So that is a win for Boston, even if the goal doesn't fall. Augie Monroe wearing the green headband this time around, bring it down. Josh Andrews in the game as well. Jackson Johnson wins a big exchange with Max Havlin, but then fails to make a beat on Leanne Dillman. Hard to see what's happening here. A lot of chaos. Andrew Axtell's trying to get by Grace Dastu. It's Ryan Fenning stepping out, though, as well. He makes the wrap. Ryan Fenning's been the physicality for Boston all season and so far in this game. Now Beckman tries to do the same. It's a pass up to Augustine Monroe. Augustine Monroe swings it to Casey Irwin. Great ball movement, accentuated by the dominant beating play of Jackson Johnson, and Austin's on the board first again.
Yeah. Nicely, very physical there from Austin, able to play through the contact. Nice way to keep their heads. Really good swinging the ball. Just a quick passing game there really made the difference.
Yeah, Axtell to Monroe to Casey Irwin. Irwin and Axtell. Irwin and Monroe at this point have been playing with each other for so long. I mean, the eyes in the back of your head in terms of knowing where the other one is.
Absolutely.
Fenning with the ball on the wing here, trying to give their beater some chance to get bludger control.
And Fenning was the player on day 1 that was so huge for Boston. Didn't see a lot from him in game 1. It'd be interesting to see him try and drive a little bit more in game 2.
Yep. But in order to drive, you need to be able to get bludger control off of these beaters, and they're playing it so smart. Though I think Havlin did get bludger control there. And Dastu just uncorks one from mid-range. Huge goal there for Grace, and it all knotted up at 1.
Yeah, that's a great shot there from mid-range from Grace Dastu. Didn't know she had that one in there. Just rips a huge shot.
Yeah. Been a little up and down in the mid-range game from Dastu this season, but a big one there. And we've talked about Austin not being the best shot-blocking team. If Boston can get some of those to fall, it can be a real momentum shifter. Sun is finally out here at Troy Park this morning as Axtell tries to drive on Beckman. A lot of chaos in the bludger game, but what it's going to be is a high press. Augustine Monroe is beat out
And we saw Boston have success with this high press, physicality at the point of attack on day one. Didn't see it as much when they were at the beginning of this game in game one.
But that's because you think about the difference in spatial awareness from their two opponents. Austin is the best in the world at that.
Not just spatial awareness. It sounds so ridiculous, but just being able to pass and catch these long throws really make a difference. And Boston more of a zone, not a mark. And Axel's going to drive. Axel's going to find a hoop. Axel's going to score.
Yeah, and I really like the adjustment Austin made there, and it's an adjustment that, as Max Havlin just tips it over Jackson Johnson to keep ball control. They were attacking a lot on Fenning's side of the zone, and Fenning would step out. Jake Archibald is not going to step out and make that same hit, so this time they attack down Archibald. Oh, Jackson Johnson has taken the ball right back off Max Havlin. Teddy Costa now in the game, has the ball on the far side. There's no beater that close. He tries to float one, but Josh Andrews has a response this time, and now there are bludgers everywhere. It's going to be a no bludger drive here from Josh Andrews. Does Boston have the stop? Dastu's trying to close on him. He shoots the mid-range shot, and that is not the look Austin wants.
No, Austin really needs to be taking the ball through the hoop there. A little tentative there from Josh Andrews on his way down the pitch. Kind of tiptoed it.
Yeah, and nobody had really met him at point of contact yet when he chose to release that. Even if he wanted the mid-range shot, probably could have taken a couple more steps. Jackson Johnson off that big play against Havlin does get bludger control back for himself and pace. Serena Montero is now in the game alongside Havlin with Dillman subbing out. No other changes so far in the Quaffle game. Augustine Monroe strips Ryan Fenning and is now going the other way. It is no bludgers. Grace Dastu is not going to get a hand on Monroe. 3-1 Austin early.
And so bad from Fenning there after the strip to just kind of jog back and not try and find a body to Monroe. Just lets him run all the way down the pitch for the goal. Yeah.
The first line from Boston continues to have no answers, and the question is, when are we going to see that second line? It took us 10 minutes to see it in game one.
Yeah, we've already seen 5 minutes here from line one, from the Boston line one. Down early again, 3-1.
Ball back to Costa. Costa has a lot of space to work. Tries to uncork one. No good. Not the best look. It's a long shot to make. And, again, it doesn't give your beaters a chance to get back bludger control, though I think Havlin did get it somehow anyway.
Yeah, had Fenning cutting. Might have been one of those situations where the pass works, the shot works, but it just hits the rim of the goal and neither goes through. Neither ends up happening.
Bludger control right back to Austin. Serena Montero losing an exchange with Jackson Johnson. And now it's Axel's time to work on the wing. Trying to get by Fenning. Fenning trying to keep the horizontal movement in front of him. Gets a wrap, but I think he's going to get called for a contact from behind.
I like the idea there to grab the arm first. Just the rest of the contact comes in from behind. And it looks like Fenning.
They're going to say neck contact.
And it's going to be yellow card for Fenning after that hit.
I believe a card in the second straight game now for Fenning on contact.
But like you said, Boston asking a lot for him to be aggressive, and that's the kind of card they're okay with him getting.
Yep. Costa's trying to make life miserable for Axtel, but I believe he'll have one passing option or another. Josh Andrews is out of the play. Augustine Monroe is pretty far away. Costa wants to tip any pass back to Monroe and force the ball to Casey Irwin where maybe he can crash. Instead, Casey Irwin's just going to walk it back, and now Austin will play the power play. Haley Pace again beats Serena Montero out of the play. Augustine Monroe hits the lane, puts it away. 4-1 Austin. This is looking a lot like game one.
Yeah, and the difference really has been the beating game. Since the sub out, Austin's had once again run over the second unit here of Boston's beaters.
Well, we were asking Austin where Jackson Johnson was in game one. In game two, there's no question. He's played 7 straight minutes. He's played 7 straight dominant minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Havlin is the first to sub out and basically answering subs. I would not be surprised if Johnson just tracks Havlin all the way through this game.
And it's obviously working for Austin so far.
Yep, so it's going to be Casey Beavers and Cole Travis coming in. Also, second-line substitutions at least halfway for Boston and I think fully for Austin. Sam Hamowitz has the ball. J.J. Johnson is alongside him. And Luis Sanchez on the far side. Aaron McBride as well now in for Casey Irwin. A tie-up in the beater game. Tom DeMuth is able to make a beat. It is going to allow for a no-budget situation, but Johnson doesn't see a route through Costa quite yet. Now Greenhouse is going to step out, but is also watching the pass to Sam Ham. A very disciplined play there from Greenhouse. Doesn't allow the drive and dish, and Austin is going to have to waste a turnover, even though they didn't have that much pressure. They are able to get bludger control back. DeMuth now has the only bludger for Boston.
Yeah, bad centering pass there from Austin.
So one reset used. They got to keep in the offensive zone now. Harry Greenhouse was in for Fenning. That is the sub in the Quaffle game for Boston so far. Costa's beat out. DeMuth is beat twice. Oh, it's a ball over to Samham. Samham, a very uncharacteristic air, can't put the dunk through the middle hoop.
Just missed time, just jumped a little bit, and on the release point got a little low and hit the bottom of the tee.
Yep. The rare hoop stuff.
Yeah, nice veteran play, by the way, from Cole Travis. Serena Montero trying to track the tap beat on the point defender. Takes time Cole Travis takes his time to readjust, turn his back to Montero to make the tap beat so that he has an easy repossession of the ball.
Yeah, so many tiny adjustments by these beaters at the highest level that sometimes you wonder how they're even processing at that speed during these moments. And it's just honestly reps. That's what it comes down to. So Grace Dastu had a little knock, did end up subbing out for Morgan Bertram, and Jake Archibald subs out as well. So now it is second line action for Boston. Ian Skura and Harry Greenhouse in alongside Costa and Bertram.
And this time it only took 9 minutes, eight and a half minutes for Skura to get in the game.
Yep. Skura has the ball up top with a lot of space to work. Montero throws a weak beat that's an easy catch for Cole Travis.
Skura looking for a shot. Lots of traffic with
beater's a little out of position here. And Bludger Control did go to Boston in that exchange.
Yeah, and Costa kind of gets wrapped up and ends up going nowhere. And a lot of beats on Costa before he ends up stopping. We might get a card here for continuing after the beat.
Yeah, the problem is the Boston Beaters got Bludger Control, but they got it by running very far to their own side of the pitch, which allowed Cole Travis to absolutely dominate the Quaffle play.
And it's going to be a yellow card. It's going to be a yellow card for Austin, though, it looks like.
Yeah, that's a gift to Boston for sure because that was about to be a turnover.
Yeah,
the
that's
other way.
Luis Sanchez picking up the card, it looks like.
0, Austin, push from behind, 1 minute.
Every bludger is on the Boston side of the field. So now we see if anybody in Boston is ready to get big. They only have to get through 3 Quaffle players. Harry Greenhouse is going to be the one with the ball. He has Morgan Bertram as a passing option, though if Erin McBride wants, she can definitely step back to her. Skura is going to be running alongside the other side of the field. I think that's going to be the look. It's going to be Skura on a cut down the middle of the field here.
Yeah, it's going to give Austin Quaffle players a time to get back in position, but Skura's going to have to go if he wants this.
Yeah, I would have liked to see them go a little faster. This is no bludger situation. Skura working on Samham, and he just throws it to Josh Johnson.
Yeah.
Greenhouse takes it back from him, though. Now the bludger's play is coming back in. Does Skura see it coming? No, he does not. He eats a beat from Cole Travis. Ball is on the ground. Teddy Costa has it. Kind of looked like an advantage call there briefly from Kanto, but I think he's going to let play go, maybe just a back-to-hoops call.
Yeah, a really great play by Greenhouse to keep the play alive after a pretty poor decision from Ian Skura.
I just hate the pacing there. I would have liked to see them go quickly. Greenhouse is in the lane, now facing that one bludger with Cole Travis. Now it's a no-bludger situation again. Does Harry Greenhouse have an answer? He's looking for Bertram. The pass was wide. Erin McBride closes down in a hurry. Now Cole Travis is closing down as well. Now it's a no-bludger situation for Skura. He is working on Samham, 2 of the most athletic players in the sport. Skura goes right by him, and Samham's wrap keeps the ball out of the hoop.
Yeah. Samham was able to, just at the last moment, trap Skura's arm next to his body so he wasn't able to extend for the finish.
Yeah, I think Skura might have had the middle hoop backhand flip at one point when he just had slipped by Samham.
Had a step. Samham, with that athleticism, as you said, able to close the space quickly.
That's it. You can't complain about the guy going for the wide open far hoop. I'm not saying it was a bad decision. It was just a great play by Samham.
Better recognition there from Skura to see the no bludger situation.
Yep. Just over 10 minutes in now. It's 4-1 Austin. We're seeing a little bit more Davis Rowe. Played one of the shortest shifts I've ever seen in Game 1.
And played it very well.
Luis Sanchez has the ball on the left side. It's a beat on, I believe, Land Dillman. It's Eddie Ohona back in the game.
Teddy Costa laying a nice tackle.
It is Land Dillman. Josh Johnson has the ball working on Harry Greenhouse. I don't think he's in a rush to move, though, as Land Dillman is planted in the middle of the zone.
And this is what we saw a little bit on day 1 from Boston. Really harrowing defense here at the point of attack.
And now it's a no-bludger situation. Johnson goes over to a wide-open passing option. And once again, it is Davis Rowe getting on the scoreboard in a hurry, making the most of his opportunities.
Yeah. Boston there getting a little overextended. And it looks like we're going to have a weather delay with 8:59 left until Snitch comes on pitch.
Yeah, they're isolated thunderstorm cells all around the area. I don't think it'll be a long delay per se.
Yeah, it looks like it might be a lightning delay here. It was a quick one yesterday. Hopefully we'll be back in a hurry here today. What have you seen so far from Austin that they have this lead?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of bludger control, and it's been taking their opportunities. They've looked so disciplined in the routes they're running to score on offense. And you saw Boston start to get more confident, but Austin is not giving them that Baylor look anymore, right? Because it seemed like Boston had an answer for that Baylor look. Now we're seeing more 2-2 defenses, maybe even a little bit of mark. And Boston now has to come up with new ways to break down those defenses. And that's really the sign of a well-disciplined team, to kind of have all these things in your back pocket, knowing when your biggest games are coming.
And Boston hasn't gotten back to the Dillman-Havlin look yet, and that's really been when they've been out their best. And they were able to run up the score. They were able to pull the score back a little bit in that game one. After this lightning delay, I'd be interested to see if they go straight back to it. Although I think afterwards we'll also see Jackson Johnson be able to come back in the game immediately as well.
Yeah, I think it definitely works out for Boston, who does not have the beater depth they usually have, in that basically now Max Havlin and Leon Dillman are going to be able to start a game fresh here at 10 minutes in and just play another 10-minute game. I expect to see a lot of them. I hope to see this second line, though, kind of getting some reps. So we're going to send it to a break for a bit. We will keep you updated to the best of our abilities. Check all of our social medias as we kind of keep updating those times for you. We thank everybody for watching, and we hope you stay tuned. Weather has cleared out. Of course, we appreciate the help of our hosts here in Howard County, as well as our incredible organization for getting us through the occasional weather delay we've had. Somehow we've never actually had any rain fall on these pitches, but we've definitely had thunder and lightning in the area, and of course we want to keep all of our athletes safe. But we've got a lot more Quidditch to be played here. Austin and Boston playing in Game 2 of their semifinal. So far it's looked a lot like Game 1 with Austin jumping out to a lead. It was 5-0 in the first game. It is now 5-1 in the second game, about 11 minutes in. Noah, what is Boston going to need to do if they're going to force a Game 3 here in this one?
They're going to have to get a foothold in the beater game. Austin's beaters in Game 2 have just been absolutely dominant. The only goal for Boston so far coming in that Grace Dass to snipe from midfield, that's not going to be enough. The offense is going to have to get going. It's going to have to flow through some other players, but it all starts in the beating game for Boston. We're going to see a return to pitch here, and I expect quick subs into Havlin and Dillman. I also expect quick subs from Austin into Pace and Johnson.
Yeah, we talked so much about Jackson Johnson not playing a ton of minutes this regular season for Austin, this championships for Austin. That all changed in Game 2 here. We saw at least a 7 or 8 minute shift to kick off the game. Tate K is going to play now. Tom DeMuth is not going to immediately sub out of this game, but Max Havlin looks very ready to jump in. DeMuth and Dillman will start out. Tate K steps high and then rolls one back to Howie Pace, who's playing alongside. It's going to be Sammy Garza stepping up at point, and Ian Skur with the ball over to Morgan Bertram.
And again, the score's 5-1 here, Austin. We've got about 8.5 minutes until the snitch comes back on pitch. So about 12.5 minutes into this game.
Skur has a lot of room here if he wants to take it. Tries to put one high. Did not have a tall target though in Greenhouse. It sails over. It's another waste of possession. And that's really been the story of the game. The beaters, it's gone back and forth. Sure, Austin's had the upper hand sometimes, but so has Boston. But it's really that Austin is making the most of the opportunities given, and Boston just isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And Skur was a little bit more aggressive in that in Game 1. Look for him to try and get a little bit closer to the hoops.
A big beat by Tate K there on Tom DeMuth, but it's going to be, it is going to be bludger control for Austin and a loose bludger. Howie Pace is still alive. Oh, and just as we were talking about taking your opportunities, it's going to be a drop there from Casey Beavers on a nice pass from Mario Bermudez, and then Tom DeMuth with a rocket to clean up the play there on the defensive end. Finally, a missed opportunity from Austin, maybe a chance for Boston to get something going.
And Skur here with the ball. Austin was able to get bludger control back.
Yep. K and Pace now with bludger control. Another possession still here for Tom DeMuth. No sub in yet from Max Havlin. Costa with the ball up top. DeMuth not able to make a beat on K here. And there's a tie-up that way, and Dillman's going to win, but it's not going to matter. Bludger control still retained. Teddy Costa with the block of the Howie Pace beat, but the beat went right back to Pace. I'm surprised this is still live. I thought he got beat. He hasn't. It's still live. A shot from Greenhouse, maybe a pass, is knocked down, and it is going to be Austin ball.
Better there from Boston. We see some concepts working, but as you said earlier, some of these possessions, the concepts are working, and the execution just is what's been failing them.
Yeah. So now another chance for Austin to start extending things, and it's going to be a pass all the way back to Augie Monroe. This back across to Garza. No real aggressive step-outs from Boston. We've only really seen that when Ryan Fenning is on the pitch. Garza gets briefly into the lane, meets Harry Greenhouse, then throws it back over to
And Austin
Bermudez.
has no beaters right now. We'll see if Boston can find a press.
Oh, and there's the contact we've been waiting for. A big play there by Harry Greenhouse, and it's Leon Dillman who's there first with the beats, which means it should be. At this point, I think you have to give the ball to Boston because even if there's a pileup, all the Austin players will resolve, so you shouldn't be hesitating on those Boston players any longer.
Yeah, and so often at the bottom of that scrum, the player that gets beat will hold on to the ball because they'll be piled on. Right. But really, they need to release the ball, or it should be called play after beat.
Right, and obviously, head ref Andrew Canto is never going to get that call wrong, so it will be Boston ball. They also got blood sugar control through that exchange. Big opportunity here, but we need to see them doing a little bit more on the offensive end. And one of the things that's really tied them up is this change of defensive set. It's been more of that 2-2 than the Baylor zone this game from Austin. Bertram has the ball, taking your space in the lane, then just passes it off to Greenhouse.
And we're seeing very compressed chasers here from Boston up top as well.
Now the Baylor zone is back. And that's been those constant defensive shifts, just trying to keep Boston confused. TK goes high up on Leon Dillman to no avail. A tap beat gets him out of the play. Bermudez is beat. Skura is in the lane. And it's Casey Beavers flying through the air and knocking down that shot.
Yeah, and a poor decision there by Skura to try and shoot through this Baylor zone.
So no scoring since these teams returned from the weather break. We're about 15 minutes in here. Not much in the way of subs either. Shocking we have not seen, as you mentioned, those top-tier beaters. Helipes is back in the game.
Yeah, I think Boston missed a real opportunity here to kind of change the tide of the game. But they have had good bludgeon control. It really has been the chasing game that's put.
And that is just not going to be good enough from Boston as Garza runs right through the entire defense and hits that backhanded shot through the middle hoop to make it 6-1.
An easy goal there. Just stepping through the defense too easily. Somebody's going to have to step in and meet with force.
Yeah, and the first sub in the beater game is not going to be Havlin in. It's actually going to be Dillman out. Montero coming in now alongside DeMuth. They do have bludger control. Bertram with the ball. Still looking for a bit more on the offensive end. A high press there. A lot of effort from Garza, who hasn't played a ton of minutes in this series, but definitely high energy minutes when he's in there.
And Bermuda stepping up to replace him at the point.
Skura, much better pass this time to Costa. Costa gets the entire team to come with him and just pops one over. That was not the disciplined Baylor zone there from Austin.
Yeah, coming off those hoops allows space behind for the shot to go over and through.
Briefly looked like a 5-year-old soccer game, if you know what I'm talking about. So beater subs also on the Austin side, Eddie Molina coming into the game. Both teams are just kind of acting as though those 30 minutes didn't exist. They just seem to be continuing down their line shifts.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see that. You would have expected with the weather delay that you have some fresher legs up top.
Yeah, Augie Monroe has the ball, does just end up swinging it over, and now it's going to be Bermudez behind. Bermudez still coming back from an injury, not playing as many minutes this weekend as he has in the past. Obviously, a longtime Team USA star. Monroe with the ball. Dodges a beat, now is looking to drive, and Teddy Costa gets the better of him. But what a pass. There is no answer here. There might be an answer right back on the other end. Howie Peace has no idea Eden Skura is coming, and what a great recognition play from Skura. Back-to-back on both ends there, goal into goal.
We hadn't really seen a break this entire series from Boston, and it's Skura with a really great decision there, recognizing that Pace didn't see him, runs right behind her, is able to put it through. That's the best decision I think we've seen Skura make all game.
Yeah, and it was Garza off the assist from Augie Monroe that scored the goal on the other end. 7-3 is now the score, almost 17 minutes into this game. Molina alongside Claire Costanza, now the beaters for Austin. Max Havlin finally re-entering the game for Boston. 2-2 zone here from Boston. A slow rotation on the pass back behind. Sam Ham now in the game, has the ball and then swings it back again. That was ripped there by Sanchez.
And a questionable decision-making process there from Costa. Turns the ball over in their own half. It looks like Boston is going to end up with the quaffle, but really lucky to come away with it.
Yeah, Montero there to clean it up. Free attempt here at bludger control, but Eddie Molina jumps over the beat from Max Havlin. Now they're going to engage on Claire Costanza instead. Beats both ways. Finally, Max Havlin is the first beater beat in that entire exchange, but bludger control, the bounces go the way of the Forge. Now a chance to cut it back to 3 here. Greenhouse with the ball in the wing. 2-2's been the score since we came back from the weather break, and that's what we've seen. The second line from Boston has hung even with Austin throughout the week, the series.
And that first game, they were definitely better, too.
Skura now bringing it up.
Greenhouse with the ball on the wing, not necessarily the best player, decision-making player with the ball in his hands,
Yeah.
but it's really dangerous off the ball.
And Costa, again, ripping a long one. I'm not sure if it was a shot or a pass, but it's definitely been some iffy possessions or decision-making we've seen out of Costa.
That's been an all-weekend trend.
And now we're seeing some subbing out within the back to the first line. Ryan Fenning coming into the game, obviously a bruiser within this team.
And we're going to see the Fenning-Skura pair here, and I think that's going to be an interesting look for Boston to throw at Austin here, at the Outlaws.
Bringing up slowly here is Sanchez still in the game. Cole Travis is now subbed in as they go into a new look for snitch on pitch beating against Haviland and Montero, who do have bludger control. Yep. J.J. Johnson now back in the game, first time since the weather delay. No rush here from Austin. The goal is definitely bludger control in this possession as they wind down into snitch on pitch play, because the first time around, Max Haviland and Leon Dillman dominated them around that snitch.
And that might perhaps be why we haven't seen why Dillman took a pretty quick sub after the weather delay.
Casey Irwin has the ball all the way behind. She's got Casey Beavers as an option behind, but instead it's going to float all the way back to J.J. Johnson. Teddy Costa looking to make something happen here. I think he disengaged. Might have been called some back contact.
Was worried about the high wrap.
Yep. Sanchez now over on Skura.
And now Skura with the green headband stepping out.
Molina makes a beat on Max Haviland. Max Haviland just easily walks back to his hoop.
Fenning is going to take control of the hoops defense.
Yeah.
Fenning now going to step out towards Casey Irwin.
Yeah, now the beaters are getting a little bit more spread. J.J. Johnson has the ball up top. Costa is marking him. Haviland is looking to press. Max Haviland throws a beat attempt at Johnson, which is going to allow them to have the only two bludgers on the pitch, and Austin has to use the reset. It will be one possession that takes up the entire, probably I think the last minute and 30 seconds there of the 20 minutes. So this will be Austin's last possession. They no longer have a reset.
Dillman using Austin's reset to sub in for Boston.
Yeah, cheeky little substitution opportunity there for Boston. Both teams are getting the look they want for snitch on pitch beating now, as Austin is also going to sub a beater in the middle of this possession. Beavers gets wrapped high by Fenning, and it's a big tackle there from the Cal grad. Leon Dillman cleans it up, and I think we might have an injury stoppage, but it will also be the 20-minute mark. It's a tough tackle to take there for Beavers.
Yeah, Fenning throwing Beavers down with a lot of force there.
So we enter the 20-minute timeout. I believe at the 20-minute timeout in the first game, it was a 30-point margin. It's now a 40-point margin. But I think things are I think the trends of the game were very similar, where we had a very one-sided first shift and a much more even Boston favorite second shift.
Yeah. I think the differences in the two games was Austin was able to play better against that second line of the Forge, and that second line of the Forge didn't quite pull away as much, didn't quite pull the game back as much as they did the first time. But you're right, very similar themes that we've seen throughout this entire series.
I mean, I don't think they had as much bludger control as they did the first time. I think that was during during that first shift too, where DeMuth and Montero even held bludger control for a while, and that was kind of when they were able to start getting some things going. We're still in this injury timeout, just so everybody knows. But then we will also be having the 20-minute timeout after that. Snitch for the game is going to be Justin Barnard. I believe Greenhouse. No, it was not Barnard that he had a quick catch on. I want to say Beckman caught Barnard earlier in the weekend. I'm not sure if Josh Andrews has a catch off of Barnard this weekend. But either way, I mean, the snitching has been high class all weekend, and there's going to be no easy outs, and a lot of it is going to come down to that beater play. What do you think, if anything, outside of simple stuff like winning your exchanges? I mean, what can Travis and Monroe look to do to maybe make more inroads on Dillman and Haviland around the snitch?
It's going to be really hard. I think Dillman moves so well with the ball in her hands and communicates so well with Haviland that it's going to be hard for them to do. But if anybody can do it, it will be the pair of Monroe and Travis. It will be the pair of Monroe and Travis. And if they can make the beater game less condensed, if they can spread the beater game out from the snitch, that's where they're going to be able to get rangy with it, and that'll be where their advantage is.
Yeah. So just some scheduling things here. This is game 2 of our second semifinal. New York Titans have already punched their ticket back to the MLK Championship Final for the first time since 2015. If this game ends in an Austin win, we will be having closing ceremonies at 3 p.m., and then the finals will start at 3:30 p.m., and that'll be up on all of our social media channels as well. In the case of a Boston win, we're going to have to come back and play Game 3. That game was originally scheduled for 2 o'clock, would likely be slightly delayed at this point, given the combination of the weather delay, the injury stoppages, etc. You've been watching these two teams now for at least a few games. You followed basically New York's entire run. How do you think New York might be matching up against these two teams as we start to look ahead to a potential final?
I think New York has shown they can be a more physical team than Boston has been so far in this series, and I think it's gonna really come down to beater play. I think Boston has the edge in beater play over New York, but if New York's beaters can step up, nobody's sped up New York. Nobody's been able to make them play at a pace that they're uncomfortable with, and that's not really something Austin is going to look to do either. And so I like New York, if they can hang in the beater game, to run their sets and run their offense, and they've been efficient with it so far. And if they can do that, they'll be able to hang with it. Now, if this tremendous beating core from the Outlaws is able to speed the game up on them, I'd expect to see quite a few turnovers from New York.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's going to be interesting to see what Devin Lee does kind of bring in that big moment. I mean, obviously, playing against San Antonio, playing against their first game as well against Charlotte, they've seen some really solid beater sets, and that's been a good test. But I think it's the combination of the quaffle play and the beating level that we could see from one of these teams in the final that might require a little bit more out of their beaters, and it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust.
Yeah, and New York you're right. New York has had a road that has been fraught with tough beater pairs, but they haven't. I'm not sure they've seen anything quite to the level that you'll see with the Outlaws.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Or you could even argue the Forge. I mean, when you look at the four beaters that we've highlighted so much in the series, Max Havlin, Leanne Dillman, Jackson Johnson, and Howie Pace, I mean, there's just very few that can compare to that kind of level of play. Just so everybody knows, the injury timeout portion of that break has ended. KC Beavers walked off with help and is currently seated on the sideline with an athletic trainer. Meanwhile, both teams have started their 20-minute break, and we're probably going to get started here in a few seconds. Kind of different breaks there. I mean, Austin obviously showing respect for both teams, showing respect for the injured player, but Boston had kind of taken an earlier huddle up. Austin a little bit more focused on their teammate, which obviously completely understandable. It's going to be interesting to see what strategies these teams try to come out with, whether the focus will all be on the seeker play or whether Boston might try something else. We did see them against New York when trailing in Game 2 by a much larger margin than 4 goals, to be fair. They did put their beater focus on the quaffle play and said, hey, maybe we can get back in this game. Our only route getting back is doing something like this. We're going to have to take that gamble. I don't think they have to take that gamble, especially with how quickly Harry Greenhouse and Tyler Beckman can deliver a catch for your team. But we will see how they do end up playing this out.
Absolutely, and players now walking towards their brooms.
So Freddie Salinas is going to be the one picking up the broom and wearing the headband here for Austin, not taking the start over Josh Andrews in this one. I imagine we've seen pretty much consistently that Harry Greenhouse does get the start for Boston, even though his shift tends to be very short before he swings over to Tyler Beckman. Greg Bento unavailable this weekend, so we won't see anything out of him. Just be the two beaters, the two seekers out of Boston. Refs having a lengthy discussion here. I think we're pretty much should be just about up with the timeout, 2-minute timeout. So the ball is going to be back behind the hoops. It was a turnover off that tackle, so it will be Boston ball. And I think importantly, they have Ryan Fenning on the field, and I'm excited to see what he can potentially do in this situation. We saw snitch on pitch against New York, and we've talked all weekend about how bruising that New York waffle core is. Nobody could bring him down without a bludger. He's that kind of player. He bounces off some of the biggest players in the league. So it'll be interesting to see if Boston can get something going with him, especially if they run some pick and rolls with him just to open up that little bit of extra space.
And Fenning been quiet so far in this series.
Yeah, it's going to be the time for him to make an impact, or Ian Skura as well to make an impact. Havlin and Dillman, I believe, did they lose bludger control at the very end of that possession? I can't tell if Havlin has a ball. He does. Okay, so it is bludger control with Havlin and Dillman, and it is going to be Boston ball. Justin Barnard, our snitch for this game. The goal score is 130.
So about to restart play here.
Yep, and it's going to be in the hands of Fenning, who's not going to pass it off here, which kind of speaks to the game plan that I think Boston's going to be looking for here.
And a quick sub out there from Costa. Zach Doyle's going to come into the game for Boston, as is
Jake Archibald. So here's the thing. The last time we saw Boston, because they were dominating the secret game, slow things down. But I think Boston needs to take advantage of this opportunity to score as many goals as they can, because they're not scoring a lot of goals in actual half-court sets.
And an absolutely tremendous play to catch 2 beats there from Cole Travis.
Yeah. Zach Doyle also now in the game. Hadn't played so far in this one. Salinas trying to shoot some shots at Barnard. He's getting all the time in the world. Dastu has the ball free on the side.
Zach Doyle coming behind to support, as with Archibald. Fenning up top, marked by Johnson.
Yeah, I really want to see Boston take these goal opportunities.
Yeah.
When else are they scoring these goals to get to the set score?
Yeah, I think they need to go fast here. You're right.
Yeah.
And a throw off pitch by Cole Travis.
Yeah. Yeah. Really dislike the strategy here from Boston as Fenning has the ball up top with Johnson. All the time in the world so far for Salinas. I do not think Greenhouse has gotten anywhere near a shot. Havlin trying to take a different angle approach on Monroe. They just end up exchanging beats. Greenhouse gets quickly beat.
And this has been all Austin so far.
Yep.
Boston still with the quaffle.
Yeah.
Fenning up top.
And no rush to get things going here, even against no budgers. Cole Travis having a giant shift here for Austin. But Salinas not close so far.
Archibald calling for the pick.
Yeah, at some point, Boston needs to start running its offense. Because Salinas is getting very close here. A nice little wrap there from Justin Barnard to keep him off. Dastu is in the lane. She does get wrapped, and it is a pass over to Archibald. Finally starting to see some confrontation in the Quaffle game.
Yeah, it's going to be dangerous here if Boston somehow –
Oh, and that's a horrible pass there, picked off by the good efforts of Luis Sanchez. And that's the problem. You can't do it forever, and you might as well take the goal that's being given to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right that Boston's really going to have to speed the game. Was going to have to speed the game up, and they've chosen not to. Now Austin content to be the one to give Josh Andrews an attempt at this.
Tate K comes flying into the game, but misses his beat. It's not going to matter, though, because I think they had all 3 budgets.
Aaron McBride with a really
good
move.
And Josh Andrews has the catch, and this series is as good as done.
Yeah, the ref's going to confirm to see if the catch is good, but if it is, it's going to be almost the last nail in the coffin here. For
the catch has been ruled good. Austin, 2 goals away from avenging their 2019 finals loss and advancing to a finals matchup with the New York Titans.
Yeah, and this series has been a lot of Austin here. They've been really controlling the tempo and the pace. They've been better in every facet of the game. Boston just hasn't been as sharp as they need to be to close this to get through this series.
Yeah, so only going to be a matter of time here. 2 goals is going to be what Austin needs. It's going to be versus 10 goals from Boston. Boston is going to take their time out off of that. But the problem is it's just going to take more than a strategic adjustment here. The numbers are just not in their favor.
Yeah, it's going to take a new team to get over this one.
Yeah. So we'll take a break here, and just another reminder: if Austin is able to complete this win and advance to the finals, where they'll take on the Titans, that game will be played at 3:30 after our closing ceremonies, which I don't believe will be live streamed at 3 o'clock. Turn in; it'll be a 3:30 sharp start here in Troy Park. It's been a fun tournament, and I do think we're going to get a fun final between New York and Austin.
Yeah, I think that game is going to be good. I expect. I'm excited to see what Lee can do, and the rest of that New York beating core.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how these Quaffle games are going to play out against each other. We've seen how physical New York is, but they kind of haven't necessarily seen the exact kind of zone concepts that Austin is running. Obviously, New York has the advantage of being able to scout this entire game. They've known they've been in the finals for about an hour and a half now. I'm sure when I talked to Michael Parada in the week upcoming, he said, ultimately they knew their goals in this tournament. And even though they were on the other side of the bracket, they were watching some Austin film because they know that that was the most likely path to a championship. So fresh off the goal there, it's now 11-3 in favor of Austin. It's going to take 10 goals without allowing 2 for Boston to keep this series alive. Tate K has a bludger alongside Augustine Monroe, taking on Havlin and Montero. Destu gets pressured by Sanchez, just ends up taking it down the wing.
Fenning going to set a pick here.
Yeah, but they tried to roll off of it, and the pass doesn't get there. We get a stoppage when all is said and done.
Yeah, the beater came with the chaser, and when the beater comes with the chaser, it's really hard to run that pick and roll.
So it's going to be a quick turnover, and I think it's going to be no bludger in transition here. J.J. Johnson looking to run the length of the field, marked by Fenning, does end up having to slow it down.
Continue to cut.
Oh, but it's a wide open Casey Irwin, and she puts it away. Austin is knocking on the doorstep of the finals.
Yeah, really, I mean, we've seen it her entire career, but incredible spatial recognition from Casey Irwin, and a quick catch and release.
Yeah, Aaron McBride put away game 1. Casey Irwin looking to put away game 2 here. Havlin exchanges beats with Tate K. Yep, and it's going to be Mia Munoz who ends up coming up with bludger control, protecting it. It's a nice cut here by Zach Doyle. Zach Doyle, though, can't put it through, blocked by JJ.
Yeah, just lost a little bit how far away from the goal he was.
Yeah, and it's potentially gonna be very important for Mia Munoz to get some minutes here, get some feet under her, because we're not sure that Casey Beavers is going to be ready for the finals, which means more minutes for Munoz, who the Austin core has talked about has put in a ton of effort and improved an absolute ton over the course of the season. Nick Zoner also in on the pitch, the old RBI player playing against a ton of his former teammates. Sanchez pops one up into the air, looking for a passing option, gets in the lane, wrapped by Fenning. Casey Irwin, back-to-back goals, and the Austin Outlaws are headed to the MLQ Championship 2021 Finals. Dominant performance there from Austin top to bottom.
From beginning to end, game 1 and game 2, they really looked great.
We have to wait for the final call here. Has to be something in the beater game. Everything that Austin did offensively in the quaffle game was definitely clean. And it's going to be Tate K who prolongs the game with a dangerous kick.
And it's funny, K kind of swaggered off the field a little bit after Austin put it away. Ends up extending the game here.
You never brag until the final whistle's been sounded. So Boston can add one more here now on the power play. Archibald's looking to run. Fenning has a head of steam, finds Zach Doyle, and Zach Doyle finishes behind the hoops. 12-4 now the score. And it is bludger control off of that beater turnover as well. So costly for K, but obviously has a lot of rope to work with.
Yeah, and important here for Boston on this defensive possession to have bludger control. That way, Austin can't bring both balls up with them on offense. Let's try and look to close this one out.
Yep, Zoner swings over to Johnson, who goes back to Irwin. K is attacking from behind. A floated ball from Irwin, a little over Sanchez's head.
And a nice wrap there from Zach
Yeah,
Doyle.
and Fenning forces the ball out. We'll see if there's a call on the play.
Yeah, and Sanchez there pleading with the referees for a call. Fenning pleading his own case.
Sanchez has played a lot of minutes in this game.
Played them well.
Yeah. We're not just saying that because he's part of our commentary crew. Fenning is, I think, just going to get it back to Hoops' offense, and it's going to be Sanchez's ball. 12-4 the score. It's 1-13. Austin looking to punch its ticket to the finals against New York. A high beat from Havlin, but Johnson has the answer with a block.
And good ball pressure here from Boston.
Irwin with the ball on the wing. Centers it. Sanchez, slow approach. A big block there from Tate K. Sanchez in the lane, gets by Doyle, trying to get by Fenning, slips off of him, has to reset to Johnson, and Max Havlin has the beat, and then Serena Montero has the beat. I think it's going to be a late kick from Irwin, but it's going to be no harm, no foul. Jake Archibald has the ball. Jake Archibald's looking to run here. Boston looking to pick up a little momentum, but Tate K makes the big beat.
Tate K coming back into the play after chasing down the ball. Archibald doesn't see him and gets blindsided. Boston's still with the ball.
Yep. Havlin doesn't like the call, but he is going to keep bludger control. Fenning's looking to run on no bludgers. Floats it above to Doyle. Doyle makes it 2 in a row. It's 12-5 now. If Boston come down with that catch, things would be getting very interesting at that point. Unfortunately, it was not to be. Jackson Johnson and Howie Pace back in the game. I think Johnson's actually been in the game for the first time since his initial shift. Havlin wins an exchange with him there.
Yeah, and we talked about Cole Travis and Augie Monroe in that snitch on pitch situation. Really were able to spread that game out. We're really able to spread that beating game out and take advantage of their ranginess.
Yeah, learn from the mistakes they made in game one. Havlin shows a very rare little squat block. You don't see that much from Havlin, but the end result is just a pair of beats on both of them. J.J. Johnson looking to get by Zach Doyle.
Defended by 2 Boston players now here.
Havlin is beat. Johnson down the right side. Johnson a lot of space to work with. No, Serena Montero comes back into the play, forces them back. Now Jackson Johnson is looking to attack Montero and ends up coming away with all the bludgers. Fires one off pitch. It's going to be a long no bludger opportunity here now for Irwin. Irwin up to Monroe. Monroe through the far hoop. And this time it will be game.
We've got
it was a very long whistle in my defense from Andrew Canto that time.
We've got another beater play foul. As the two teams looking to come together, this time Austin coming off the sideline. There's going to be a conversation here between Canto and his assistant referee. We'll see if the game is over.
Yeah, and I believe this game is over. Augie Monroe with the game-winning shot. And Austin advances 13-5 into the finals.
And a dominant performance there by Austin from beginning to end.
Yeah, and this is going to be a rematch of the 2019 MLQ Championship semifinal. A hotly contested matchup that went 3 games and came down to the very last goal. Next goal wins. So I'm excited to see if we can kind of bring back some of that going into our finals. We will be live on air at 3:30 after our 3 o'clock closing ceremonies. So please tune in. What are you expecting to see in this series?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. We've seen what Austin can do. They've got dominant beaters. They've got great. They're very patient. They're very patient and space oriented with their chasers. Look for them to be possession oriented. Look for New York to be possession oriented. Neither team's really been sped up so far. Both teams can break. Neither team's chosen to make that a style, the linchpin of their game. And so it's going to come down to who can control bludgers, and we'll see who has the edge.
Yeah, these are the two teams with the best spatial awareness in the offensive zone in the sport. I expect to see really a master class in that kind of play, and I'm very excited to see how it all breaks down. Like we said, we'll be back a little bit before 3:30 for the finals. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. For Noah Schwartz, for Reed Marchman, and for Nick Jablonski, we will see you back very soon for the finals. Take care.